Galactic Empire's confidence. In a galaxy filled with diverse civilizations and powerful empires, the Galactic Empire stood as the supreme ruler. Their vast territories stretched across countless star systems, and their technology was far beyond anything other species could imagine. They had conquered and controlled more planets than any other empire in history. The Galactic Empire's leaders, seated in their grand capital on the sprawling world of Imperia, were convinced of their invincibility. They looked down upon other species with a mix of disdain and amusement, believing that their might was unchallenged. The Empire's confidence was not without reason. Their warships were the most advanced in the galaxy, equipped with energy shields and weapons that could obliterate entire fleets. Their armies were immense, trained to perfection, and led by ruthless generals. From their perspective, the galaxy was their playground, and their dominance was absolute. Among the many species under the Empire's control, humanity was seen as insignificant. Humans lived on a small, relatively unremarkable planet in the far corner of the galaxy. The Empire's officials had dismissed Earth as a minor world, hardly worth noting in their grand scheme of conquest. They believed humans were primitive and weak, not worth serious consideration. This belief was about to be put to the test. The Empire, always eager to expand its influence and assert its power, decided to test their strength against this so-called insignificant species. They saw it as an easy target, a chance to showcase their might once again and demonstrate their superiority. The leaders of the Empire thought that defeating humanity would be a simple task, a mere footnote in their long history of triumphs. A fleet of Empire warships was dispatched to Earth, carrying the latest in military technology and weaponry. The plan was straightforward: overwhelm the planet with their superior force and crush any resistance quickly. The Empire's leaders were so confident in their victory that they scarcely bothered to devise a detailed strategy. They anticipated minimal resistance and a swift, decisive win. As the Imperial fleet approached Earth, the people of the planet were thrown into chaos. The sudden appearance of massive warships in the sky was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Governments and military forces scrambled to respond, but their efforts seemed hopelessly inadequate against the overwhelming power of the Empire's forces. Despite their initial panic, the people of Earth began to organize. They understood that their survival depended on their ability to adapt and fight back. The Galactic Empire's leaders watched with amusement as humans made futile attempts to defend their world. They dismissed these efforts as inconsequential, confident that their own forces would soon bring the planet to its knees. The Empire's generals prepared for a swift victory celebration, imagining themselves as heroes who had effortlessly subdued another insignificant species. Little did they know, this would be the beginning of their biggest blunder. The Empire's overconfidence blinded them to the true potential of humanity. They underestimated the human spirit, the creativity, and the resolve that drove people to defend their home against overwhelming odds. The Empire's leaders had failed to grasp that the strength of a species is not always measured by technology or numbers alone. It is often the courage and ingenuity of the people that make the difference in the most critical moments. As the Imperial forces began their assault, humanity's response would soon reveal the flaws in the Empire's arrogance. What the Galactic Empire had thought would be a simple victory was about to turn into a challenge that would test their strength and force them to confront the unexpected resilience of their seemingly weak adversaries. The stage was set for a conflict that would change the galaxy's power dynamics and prove that underestimating humanity was a grave mistake. The challenge begins. The massive Imperial fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with a sense of finality. The warships, sleek and powerful, blotted out the stars as they descended towards the planet below. Each ship was equipped with weaponry capable of devastating entire cities in a single strike. The Galactic Empire's leaders had sent their best forces, confident that this mission would be a straightforward victory. From the moment the fleet appeared, Earth was thrown into a state of emergency. The sight of enormous spacecraft hovering in the sky was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The people of Earth, who had never before faced such a threat, were stunned into action. Governments scrambled to respond, but their initial attempts to understand and combat the invaders were chaotic and disorganized. The Empire's assault began with a massive display of power. The warships unleashed a barrage of energy beams and missiles, targeting key cities and military installations around the world. The Empire's strategy was to create fear and confusion, hoping to break the will of humanity through sheer force. They believed that once the major cities were destroyed, resistance would crumble quickly. Humanity's first response was frantic and disjointed. National defense systems were activated, and military forces rushed to engage the enemy. However, the Empire's technology was far superior, and their initial attacks were devastatingly effective. Cities burned, and the chaos spread like wildfire. The Empire's commanders watched from their ships with detached satisfaction, their confidence growing with every passing hour. Despite the overwhelming odds, something unexpected started to happen. As the initial shock wore off, human beings began to rally. People from all walks of life, from soldiers to scientists, came together with a single purpose: to protect their home. They started to share information, resources, and strategies, forming an impromptu network of resistance. The first signs of human resilience came from unexpected places. Small, improvised defensive measures began to appear. Local militias and volunteer groups took up arms, using whatever weapons they could find to fight back against the invaders. These groups were not as well equipped as the Imperial forces, but their determination and creativity began to make a difference. The Galactic Empire's commanders were puzzled. They had anticipated a swift and easy conquest, not this unexpected resistance. The Empire's intelligence had underestimated the human spirit and their ability to adapt quickly. While the Empire's advanced technology was formidable, it was becoming clear that the humans were not going to give up without a fight. In response to the growing resistance, the Empire intensified their assault. They aimed to crush human morale by increasing the scale of their attacks. Cities were targeted with even greater force, and the Empire's propaganda machines began broadcasting messages of doom and despair. Their goal was to break the human will by making the situation seem hopeless. But the harder the Empire pushed, the more determined the humans became. The resistance started to organize more effectively. Leaders emerged from the chaos, providing guidance and coordination. Underground networks were established to share crucial information and resources. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop new technologies and strategies to counter the Empire's advances. One of the turning points came when a group of human engineers managed to hack into the Empire's communication systems. They began to intercept and decode Imperial messages, gaining valuable insights into the enemy's plans and movements. This information allowed the resistance to mount more effective counterattacks and avoid some of the worst effects of the Empire's bombardment. The Empire's leaders began to see signs that their victory was not as assured as they had once believed. Reports from their commanders indicated that the human resistance was more organized and capable than expected. The situation on the ground was far from the quick and easy victory they had anticipated. As the days passed, the conflict between the Galactic Empire and humanity grew more intense. The Empire's initial confidence began to waver as they faced the unexpected strength and resolve of their opponents. The challenge that had begun as a simple test of power was turning into a full-scale struggle for survival, and the outcome was far from certain. Early Empire success. As the Galactic Empire's fleet unleashed its full might upon Earth, the initial results were strikingly successful. The Empire's warships, armed with advanced weaponry and shielded by impenetrable defenses, began their assault with precision and efficiency. The first wave of attacks was overwhelming, and the human forces struggled to keep up. The Empire's strategy was simple yet effective. They targeted major cities and military bases first, aiming to cripple Earth's ability to respond. The capital cities were hit with devastating energy beams, turning skyscrapers into rubble and causing widespread panic. The airwaves were filled with urgent broadcasts as governments tried to coordinate a defense, But their efforts were often hampered by the chaos and confusion that the Empire's assault had created. The Empire's superior technology made their task seem almost effortless. Their warships hovered above the cities, protected by energy shields that deflected any incoming fire. The missiles they launched were highly accurate, capable of striking targets with pinpoint precision. The Empire's commanders watched with a sense of detached satisfaction as their weapons wreaked havoc below. For the first few days, the success was undeniable. Human resistance was scattered and poorly coordinated. The cities that had once stood as beacons of human achievement were now smoldering ruins. The Empire's advanced sensors and surveillance systems kept them informed of every movement and reaction, allowing them to adjust their tactics on the fly. The early stages of the conflict showcased the sheer power of the Empire's military might. The vast fleets of warships, with their enormous firepower, seemed unstoppable. The Empire's leaders were confident that their technological superiority would lead to a swift and decisive victory. They expected Earth's defenses to crumble quickly under the relentless assault. As the Empire pressed their advantage, they sent down ground troops to occupy key locations. These soldiers, equipped with advanced weaponry and armor, encountered little resistance as they established control over the devastated areas. The humans, still reeling from the initial shock, were struggling to mount an organized defense. The Empire's commanders saw their plan unfolding as expected. They had anticipated a quick victory, and the initial results were promising. The human forces were disorganized and overwhelmed, unable to mount an effective counterattack. The Empire's leaders began to prepare for the next phase of their plan, confident that their victory was imminent. However, even in the midst of this apparent success, there were signs that not all was going as smoothly as the Empire had hoped. Some reports from the front lines hinted at pockets of resistance, small groups of humans who were managing to fight back with surprising tenacity. These groups were often poorly equipped and outnumbered, but their courage and determination were starting to make a difference. Despite the overwhelming power of the Empire's forces, the human spirit was proving to be a stubborn obstacle. The initial success of the Empire's assault had not completely broken the will of the people. The devastation caused by the Empire's attacks had sparked a fierce resolve among many humans who refused to surrender without a fight. As the days passed, the Empire's leaders remained confident in their position, but they began to encounter unexpected challenges. The human resistance, though still disorganized, was starting to regroup and organize. Makeshift defenses and guerrilla tactics began to emerge, and the Empire's forces faced increasing difficulties in maintaining their control over the occupied areas. The Empire's early success, while impressive, was beginning to reveal the complexities of the conflict. The human resistance was far from defeated, and their determination was proving to be a significant challenge for the Empire's plans. The initial ease of the Empire's victory was starting to give way to a more complicated and drawn-out struggle. Humanity fights back. In the wake of the Galactic Empire's devastating initial attacks, humanity faced an enormous challenge. Major cities lay in ruins, and the Empire's advanced warships continued to hover menacingly above. Despite the overwhelming odds, a glimmer of hope began to emerge as humans from all corners of the planet came together to fight back. The first signs of resistance were small but significant. In the wreckage of destroyed cities, groups of survivors began to organize. Ordinary people, who had once lived quiet lives, now found themselves on the front lines of a desperate struggle. They gathered in makeshift shelters, pooling their resources and skills to form a unified front against the invaders. As the chaos settled, a sense of determination took hold. Communities that had been scattered by the Empire's assault began to band together. Local leaders emerged, providing guidance and rallying people to defend their homes. These leaders included military veterans, engineers, and even ordinary citizens who took it upon themselves to resist the Empire's oppression. One of the most inspiring aspects of this newfound resistance was the rapid development of innovative strategies. Humans, despite being outmatched in technology, began to use their ingenuity to their advantage. They crafted improvised weapons and defenses, making the most of whatever resources they could find. Guerrilla tactics became a common approach, with small, mobile units launching surprise attacks on Imperial forces. In the midst of the turmoil, a group of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to reverse engineer some of the Empire's technology. They managed to salvage parts from damaged enemy warships and started to understand their advanced systems. This breakthrough allowed them to develop countermeasures that could disrupt the Empire's communications and defenses, giving the human resistance a crucial edge. The human resistance also benefited from the resilience and courage of ordinary citizens. Stories of bravery and self-sacrifice spread through the ranks, inspiring others to join the fight. Volunteers took on dangerous missions to gather intelligence, deliver supplies, and carry out sabotage operations. The sense of unity and purpose gave the resistance a newfound strength. One key moment in this phase of the conflict came when a coordinated attack on an Imperial supply base resulted in a significant victory for humanity. Using the information they had gathered from hacked communications, the Resistance launched a surprise assault that disrupted the Empire's logistics and supply lines. This victory, though small compared to the scale of the conflict, was a major morale booster for the human forces. As the Resistance grew more organized, so did their effectiveness. They began to retake some of the cities that had been occupied by the Empire. The process was slow and costly, but each reclaimed city was a testament to human perseverance. The Empire's commanders were increasingly frustrated by these setbacks, struggling to maintain control over the areas they had previously conquered with ease. Despite these successes, the fight was far from over. The Empire's forces remained formidable, and their warships continued to strike from above. The Resistance had to adapt constantly, finding new ways to counter the Empire's superior firepower. The human spirit, however, remained unbroken. Each setback was met with renewed determination, and each small victory fueled their resolve. The tide of the battle began to shift. The once unstoppable Empire was now facing a determined and resourceful adversary. The Galactic Empire's leaders, who had once dismissed humanity as a minor obstacle, were beginning to see the unexpected strength of their opponents. The Resistance's creativity and resilience were proving to be formidable challenges for the Empire's plans. As the conflict continued, the fight against the Galactic Empire became a symbol of human unity and strength. People from all walks of life came together, setting aside differences to face a common enemy. The battle for Earth was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a fight for the very spirit of humanity. Turning the tide. Unexpected human strategies. As the conflict between humanity and the Galactic Empire continued, the initial successes of the Empire began to face significant challenges. The tide of battle was starting to shift, thanks to the unexpected and clever strategies devised by the human Resistance. In the early days of their fight back, humanity had relied on basic guerrilla tactics and makeshift weapons. But as the Resistance grew more organized, they began to develop more sophisticated plans. Scientists and engineers, who had been working tirelessly to understand and counter the Empire's advanced technology, started to devise innovative solutions to turn the tide of the conflict. One of the most surprising tactics the Resistance employed was the use of EMP, electromagnetic pulse devices. These devices were capable of disrupting the electronic systems of the Empire's warships. Using salvaged parts and improvised technology, the engineers managed to create EMP bombs that could be launched from modified missile systems. These bombs caused significant damage to the Empire's ships, temporarily disabling their weapons and shields. The first successful EMP strike was a turning point in the conflict. The Resistance managed to ambush an Imperial convoy, detonating EMP devices that disabled several warships. This unexpected attack caused chaos among the Empire's ranks and allowed the Resistance to seize control of a key strategic location. The Empire's commanders were stunned by the effectiveness of this new tactic, which had not been anticipated in their strategic plans. Another key strategy involved the use of deception and misinformation. The Resistance set up false signals and fake communications to mislead the Empire's intelligence networks. By creating decoy operations and false attacks, they managed to divert Imperial forces away from critical areas. This allowed human forces to concentrate their efforts where they were most needed and to launch surprise counterattacks. The Resistance also began to exploit the natural environment of Earth to their advantage. They used the planet's diverse terrain to stage ambushes and set traps for the Empire's ground troops. Dense forests, mountainous regions, and urban ruins all became battlegrounds where the humans could use their knowledge of the landscape to launch effective strikes. The Empire's advanced technology was less effective in these complex environments, and the Resistance used this to their advantage. One particularly daring strategy was the use of hit-and-run tactics. Small, agile units of human fighters would strike swiftly and then retreat before the Empire's larger forces could respond. These units targeted supply lines, communication hubs, and isolated garrisons, causing disruption and confusion among the Empire's forces. The hit-and-run tactics allowed the Resistance to inflict damage while minimizing their own losses. The Empire's leadership, who had initially seen humanity as a minor threat, now found themselves grappling with an unexpected and formidable adversary. Reports from the front lines indicated that the Resistance was not only surviving, but actively fighting back with increasing effectiveness. The Empire's commanders were forced to reconsider their approach, adjusting their strategies in response to the new challenges posed by humanity. The shift in the conflict was also marked by the emergence of notable human leaders who inspired and unified their forces. These leaders, from former military officers to civilian organizers, played a crucial role in coordinating the Resistance's efforts. Their ability to communicate a clear vision and rally people to the cause helped to strengthen the resolve of the human forces. As the weeks passed, the Empire began to experience mounting setbacks. The innovative strategies of the Resistance were taking their toll, and the once unshakable confidence of the Galactic Empire was starting to wane. The humans had not only managed to adapt, but had begun to turn the tide of the conflict through creativity, determination, and a deep understanding of their own strengths and limitations. The battle was far from over, but the resilience and ingenuity of humanity had made it clear that the Galactic Empire's victory was not as assured as they had once believed. The conflict was becoming a test of endurance and adaptability, and the unexpected strategies of the human Resistance were proving to be a formidable challenge for the Empire's dominance. Empire's growing worry. As the battle between the Galactic Empire and humanity intensified, the Empire's initial confidence began to erode. What was once thought to be a straightforward conquest was now proving to be a much more complicated and challenging conflict. The Empire's leaders were growing increasingly worried about the unexpected resilience and adaptability of their human adversaries. In the Empire's command centers, the mood had shifted from triumphant assurance to anxious concern. The high-ranking officials, who had once dismissed humanity as a minor obstacle, were now faced with troubling reports from the front lines. The human Resistance, which had initially seemed disorganized and ineffective, was becoming a serious threat to the Empire's plans. One of the main sources of concern was the growing effectiveness of the human strategies. The Empire's intelligence reports showed that the Resistance had managed to inflict significant damage using innovative tactics and technologies. The EMP strikes, which had disrupted the Empire's warships, were particularly alarming. The Empire's once unassailable fleets were now vulnerable to attacks that they had not anticipated. The Empire's engineers and scientists scrambled to address the vulnerabilities exposed by these new tactics. They rushed to develop countermeasures to protect their ships from EMP attacks. However, the rapid pace of the human Resistance's innovation meant that the Empire struggled to keep up. Every new strategy or technology developed by humanity seemed to create new problems for the Empire. The situation on the ground was equally troubling. The Empire's ground troops, who had initially established control with ease, were now facing fierce and organized resistance. The hit-and-run tactics employed by the human forces were particularly effective. Small, agile units would strike swiftly, cause disruption, and then retreat before the Empire's larger forces could mount a counterattack. This approach made it difficult for the Empire to maintain control over occupied areas and disrupted their supply lines. The Empire's commanders were growing frustrated by their inability to crush the resistance swiftly. The human fighters, though not as well equipped, used their knowledge of the terrain and their guerrilla tactics to their advantage. The dense forests, mountains, and urban ruins became battlegrounds where the Empire's superior technology was less effective. The Resistance's ability to adapt and exploit the environment was proving to be a significant challenge. In addition to the tactical difficulties, the Empire's morale was beginning to suffer. The initial confidence of the Imperial forces had been replaced by uncertainty and unease. The growing casualties and the mounting setbacks were taking a toll on the troops' spirit. Many soldiers who had expected a quick victory were now disheartened by the prolonged and costly conflict. The Empire's leadership was also facing internal pressures. The political elite, who had originally championed the campaign against humanity, were now facing criticism for the unexpected difficulties of the war. The failure to achieve a swift and decisive victory was seen as a failure of strategy and leadership. The Empire's leaders were under increasing scrutiny, and the prospect of a protracted and costly war was causing anxiety at the highest levels. The Empire's efforts to control the situation were met with mixed results. While they managed to regain some territory and adapt their tactics, the human resistance continued to find ways to challenge their dominance. The Empire's leaders realized that the conflict was not just a military struggle, but also a test of endurance and adaptability. Despite the growing worry, the Empire remained determined to achieve their objectives. They continued to adapt their strategies and seek new solutions to address the challenges posed by the resistance. However, the unexpected resilience of humanity had transformed what was once considered a straightforward conquest into a complex and unpredictable conflict. As the battle raged on, the Empire's growing worry reflected the changing dynamics of the war. The once overconfident Empire was now grappling with the reality that their dominance was being seriously challenged by an adversary they had underestimated. The outcome of the conflict was far from certain, and the Empire's leaders faced the daunting task of addressing the unexpected strengths of their human foes. The big battle. The day of the great battle had arrived. It was a moment that both the Galactic Empire and humanity had been preparing for. After weeks of skirmishes and mounting tension, the conflict was set to reach a decisive point. The stakes were high, and both sides knew that the outcome of this battle could determine the fate of Earth. The scene was set as the Empire's massive fleet positioned itself in the sky above the key human stronghold. The Imperial warships, with their dark, imposing forms, cast long shadows over the city below. The Empire's strategy was clear. They aimed to deliver a crushing blow that would end the resistance once and for all. The massive energy cannons and missile launchers on the warships were primed and ready. On the ground, the human resistance was preparing for the biggest fight of their lives. The city was fortified with makeshift defenses, and every available fighter was mobilized. Despite the Empire's superior firepower, the humans were determined to hold their ground. The leaders of the resistance, having learned from previous engagements, had carefully planned their strategy to counter the Empire's strengths. The battle began with a thunderous roar as the Empire's warships unleashed a barrage of energy beams and missiles. The sky was filled with streaks of light as the projectiles rained down on the city. Buildings crumbled and explosions shook the ground. The Empire's commanders watched from their ships with a sense of grim satisfaction, confident that their overwhelming firepower would quickly break the resistance. But the human fighters were ready. As the initial assault hit, they scrambled to their defensive positions. Despite the chaos, their training and determination shone through. Anti-aircraft guns, hastily built from salvaged materials, opened fire on the incoming missiles. The humans' improvised defenses, though not as advanced as the Empire's technology, managed to intercept a significant number of projectiles. The resistance fighters also launched their counterattacks. Small, agile units moved swiftly through the ruins, targeting key points in the Empire's fleet. The EMP devices that had been so effective in previous skirmishes were used once again. These devices were deployed from hidden positions, causing temporary shutdowns in the Empire's weapon systems. The disruption allowed the human fighters to press their advantage and strike at the weakened warships. In the midst of the chaos, the battle for the city's central control hub became a focal point. This area, crucial for coordinating the Empire's assault, was fiercely contested. The Resistance made a concerted effort to hold the control hub, knowing its importance for both strategic and symbolic reasons. Waves of Imperial troops attacked the hub, but the human defenders fought with fierce determination. As the battle raged on, the Empire's leaders began to realize that the situation was not unfolding as planned. Despite their superior firepower, the resilience and resourcefulness of the human fighters were proving to be a formidable challenge. The Empire's initial advantage was being eroded by the unexpected effectiveness of the Resistance's strategies. The tide of the battle began to shift as the humans launched a bold and daring maneuver. Using the knowledge they had gained from previous engagements, they executed a coordinated assault on a vulnerable part of the Empire's fleet. The strike targeted a key energy generator that powered the Imperial warship's shields. The destruction of this generator caused a significant reduction in the Empire's defensive capabilities. With their shields compromised, the Empire's warships became more vulnerable to the Resistance's attacks. The humans pressed their advantage, launching a series of coordinated strikes that caused heavy damage to the Imperial fleet. The battle turned into a desperate struggle, with both sides fighting with everything they had. The Empire's commanders, faced with mounting losses and dwindling resources, were forced to reconsider their approach. The unexpected strength and determination of the human resistance had turned the battle into a high-stakes struggle. The Empire's once assured victory was now in jeopardy. As the battle continued, it became clear that humanity was not going to surrender easily. The city, though heavily damaged, stood as a symbol of human resilience. The clash between the Galactic Empire and the Resistance reached a fever pitch, with both sides locked in a fight for survival. In the end, the outcome of the battle remained uncertain. The big battle had become a testament to the unexpected strength of the human spirit and the complexities of warfare. The Empire's growing realization that their victory was not guaranteed was a turning point in the conflict. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the resolve of the human fighters had made it clear that they were not easily defeated. Empire's defeat. The big battle had reached a critical juncture, and the tide was turning dramatically against the Galactic Empire. What had once seemed like an unstoppable force was now facing an unexpected and overwhelming challenge from humanity. As the fight continued, it became clear that the Empire's defeat was not only possible but increasingly likely. In the heart of the battle, the once proud Imperial fleet was showing signs of severe strain. The human resistance, having weathered the initial onslaught and adapted their strategies, began to press their advantage with renewed vigor. The city, though battered, stood resilient, and the human defenders fought with a fierce determination that stunned their adversaries. The Empire's warships, which had once moved with confidence and dominance, were now struggling. The EMP devices deployed by the Resistance had taken a heavy toll on their electronic systems. The disruption caused by these devices led to failures in weapon systems and shields, leaving the warships vulnerable to attack. Imperial commanders tried to regroup and repair their ships, but the damage was significant, and time was running out. On the ground, the Resistance fighters, buoyed by their success, launched a series of coordinated attacks against the Empire's remaining strongholds. The human forces targeted key supply depots, communication hubs, and command centers. Each successful strike weakened the Empire's ability to coordinate and sustain their assault. The Resistance's use of guerrilla tactics and knowledge of the terrain continued to be highly effective, creating constant pressure on the invading forces. One of the most significant blows to the Empire came when the Resistance managed to capture an Imperial command ship. This vessel, which had been directing the fleet's operations, fell into the hands of the humans during a daring raid. The capture of the command ship provided the Resistance with valuable intelligence and allowed them to disrupt the Empire's command structure. The loss of this key asset created chaos and confusion among the Imperial forces. The human forces also took advantage of the Empire's weakened state by launching a decisive counteroffensive. Using the information gained from the captured command ship, they coordinated a series of targeted strikes that crippled several more Imperial warships. The once formidable fleet was now in disarray, with damaged ships struggling to maintain cohesion and defend against the relentless human attacks. As the battle reached its climax, the Empire's leaders began to recognize the severity of their situation. The once unstoppable advance had stalled, and their forces were suffering from both physical damage and low morale. The realization that their defeat was imminent started to sink in, and desperation began to set in among the Imperial ranks. The final push by the human resistance came with a coordinated assault on the remaining Imperial command centers. The resistance fighters, leveraging their knowledge of the Empire's weakened positions, launched a series of precise attacks that dismantled the Empire's remaining command infrastructure. The collapse of these centers meant that the Empire's ability to coordinate their remaining forces was severely compromised. In a dramatic turn of events, the Empire's remaining warships, unable to continue their fight effectively, began to withdraw. The once feared fleet, now battered and broken, retreated from the battlefield. The sight of the Imperial ships retreating was a powerful symbol of the Resistance's victory. As the dust settled and the battle came to an end, the scale of the Empire's defeat was evident. The city, though scared from the conflict, stood as a testament to human resilience and determination. The Galactic Empire, which had once believed their victory was assured, was now forced to reckon with the reality of their defeat. The defeat marked a turning point in the conflict. The Empire's retreat was not just a military loss, but also a blow to their confidence and authority. The human resistance had shown that they could stand up to even the most advanced and powerful adversaries. The battle for Earth was far from over, but the defeat of the Galactic Empire was a significant victory for humanity. As the Resistance celebrated their hard-fought success, they also prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The defeat of the Empire was a crucial step, but the fight for Earth was ongoing. The human spirit had proven to be a formidable force, and the future of the conflict remained uncertain as humanity continued to defend their home against the remaining threats. A new galactic order. The defeat of the Galactic Empire had far-reaching consequences, not only for Earth but for the entire galaxy. With the Empire's collapse, a power vacuum was created, and the galaxy faced the challenge of rebuilding and establishing a new order. The end of the Empire marked the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with both opportunities and uncertainties. As the dust settled from the Great Battle, the leaders of the human resistance found themselves in a position of unprecedented influence. Their victory over the once mighty Galactic Empire had not only secured Earth's freedom, but also shifted the balance of power across the galaxy. The Resistance's leaders, now recognized as key figures in the new order, faced the monumental task of shaping the future of galactic politics. In the wake of the Empire's defeat, representatives from various factions and planets began to gather to discuss the future of the galaxy. The once dominant Imperial planets were now open to new alliances and political arrangements. Former allies of the Empire, who had been subjugated and oppressed, saw an opportunity to reshape their destinies. The galaxy was in flux, and the absence of the Empire's authoritarian rule created a space for new political dynamics. The human leaders, having proven their strength and resilience, took on a pivotal role in the negotiations. They approached the process with a blend of diplomacy and pragmatism. The Resistance's experience in resisting tyranny and their commitment to freedom made them natural leaders in the effort to build a new galactic order. Their goal was to create a system that would prevent the rise of another oppressive regime and promote cooperation among the diverse civilizations of the galaxy. One of the first steps in establishing the new order was the formation of a coalition of planets. This coalition was designed to be an inclusive and democratic body that would address the needs and concerns of all member worlds. The coalition aimed to ensure that no single power could dominate or impose its will on others. Instead, decisions would be made through consensus and mutual agreement. The new coalition faced several challenges. The galaxy was filled with diverse cultures and conflicting interests, and finding common ground was not always easy. However, the spirit of cooperation and the shared desire for a more just and equitable galaxy provided a strong foundation for progress. The coalition's leaders worked tirelessly to bridge divides and build a framework for collaboration. One of the key issues addressed by the coalition was the rebuilding of war-torn worlds. The conflict with the Galactic Empire had left many planets in ruins, and the new order prioritized efforts to provide aid and support for recovery. Human engineers, scientists, and humanitarian organizations played a crucial role in helping to rebuild infrastructure and provide assistance to those in need. The emphasis on reconstruction and support was seen as a way to foster goodwill and promote stability in the galaxy. Another important aspect of the new galactic order was the establishment of a system of checks and balances to prevent the rise of another oppressive regime. The coalition implemented safeguards to ensure that power remained decentralized and that no single entity could exert undue influence. Transparency and accountability were key principles in the new governance model, aimed at preventing the concentration of power and protecting the rights of all beings. As the new galactic order took shape, the former subjects of the Galactic Empire began to experience a new sense of freedom and hope. The oppressive regime that had once cast a shadow over the galaxy was gone, replaced by a system that valued cooperation, justice, and equality. The transition was not without its difficulties, but the commitment to building a better future provided a sense of purpose and direction. Humanity's role in the new order was significant. Their leadership and experience in resisting tyranny had earned them respect and influence. The principles of freedom and democracy that had guided the human resistance were now shaping the broader galactic landscape. The new order represented a shift away from authoritarianism and toward a more inclusive and equitable system of governance. As the galaxy moved forward, the lessons learned from the rise and fall of the Galactic Empire remained a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance and cooperation. The new galactic order was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the potential for positive change. The future of the galaxy was no longer defined by the shadows of oppression, but by the promise of a new era of freedom and collaboration.